Glad that you could join us. This is Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom. Let's take a look at the headlines. NAC decides on palliative measures for Nigerians. House of Representatives to probe Max Air contaminated fuel incident. Plus, President Macron reshuffles cabinet in bid to turn page on crisis-ridden second term. Details of these stories and more in a moment. First in the news tonight, following the removal of the petrol subsidy and the recent hike in petrol prices to up to 617 naira per litre, the National Executive Council (NEC) has agreed on palliative measures for Nigerians. The decision was reached today at a meeting held at the council chambers of the State House, Abuja. The meeting, which was chaired by Vice President Kashim Shettima, had in attendance governors of the 36 states of the Federation, the Director General of the Nigerian Governors Forum, as well as stakeholders from the World Bank and other agencies of government. NEC also considered integrity tests on state social registers, adding that cash transfers would be done via state social registers subject to state peculiarities. During the meeting, government officials were urged to reduce the cost of governance in their various spheres. This is even as the federal government initiated a 6-month cash award policy for public servants. Meanwhile, food items, grains and fertilizers are to be distributed by state governments at the rate acquired from National Emergency Management Agency (NEMA), and states are urged to double down on energy transition plans in the transport sector. In another development, President Bola Tinubu has expressed sadness over the passing of celebrated writer, author, and literary scholar Professor Kole Omotosho. He said that Kole's demise was a big loss to Nigeria, Africa, and the literary world in general. Omotosho died in Cape Town, South Africa, on Wednesday at the age of 80. Tinubu said that the deceased was reputed for his commitment and dedication to the socio-political reprisal of Africa. He equally noted that respect for human dignity was evident in most of the thought-provoking works of the late professor. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu is expected to participate in the 17th Annual National Diaspora Day 2023. The program, which has been scheduled for July 24 in Abuja, is to celebrate and recognize the contributions of Nigerians in the diaspora to national development. The chairman and CEO, Nigerians in Diaspora Commissioner Bike Dabriere, made the disclosure while briefing newsmen on the forthcoming celebration. She enumerated the successes recorded by Nigerians abroad, saying that over 17 million Nigerians are performing feats internationally in the fields of education, medicine, health, sports, media and entertainment, leadership and politics, finance, science and ICT, transportation, tourism, industry and agri-businesses. According to her, their skills, knowledge, network and experiences are indispensable assets which can be harnessed to bolster Nigeria's progress and development. Away from that now, the National Boundary Commission has begun fresh moves to end the lingering boundary dispute between Abia and Akwa Ibom states. The commission summoned officials of the two states to a roundtable meeting in Abuja. The Director General, National Boundary Commission, Adamu Adaji, noted that the boundary dispute covered 275 kilometers in length between the Old Cross River and Imo interstate boundary areas. He said that the boundary has tri-points at Abia, Akwa Ibom and Cross River in the north and Abia Akwa Ibom and Rivers in the south. Adaji explained that the federal government promulgated the Decree 23 of 1985 to adjust the boundary on the recommendations of the Kaloma Ali Boundary Ascertainment Commission as a starting point of the boundary, adding that the directives were not implemented. From the red chambers now, where the Senate today set up an ad hoc committee on the internal security of the National Assembly. Senate President Godswill Akpabio announced the constitution of the committee after about 2 hours executive session of the red chambers. He named Senator Danjuma Goje of APC Gombe Central as chairman of the committee.
The Customs Service is authorized to carry firearms in the course of their duties. This is aimed at assisting the service to effectively counter activities of smugglers who have recently become emboldened in their attack on custom personnel, in many cases using sophisticated weapons. Worried that some officers of the Nigerian Customs Service, who should be civil and professional in their engagements and handling of firearms, have had a series of shootings of innocent citizens.
People living around that border, their livelihood is this business. For a very, very long time, once the custom decide to take position of shoot aside, what happened? The smugglers went and collaborated with the bandits. So therefore, it's become a kind of clash that happening day in, day out.
I know that in the armed forces, you have to explain where a bullet has gone. I don't know whether that applies to the customs, but the issue is there must be reward and sanctions. For those that have killed or maimed people, there must be consequences. And I believe that this motion, even though it's at the moment talking about what the customs did, but it applies to all our security agencies and armed forces. And I believe that the investigation must be thorough and somebody must take responsibility.
Been a recurring dismal. There hasn't been issues with customs in Lagos, in Ibadan, in the east and in the southwest. But the corridor between Katsina, Niger, Kano, a lot of people lost their lives simply because they are suspected of carrying a bag of rice.
The Nigerian Senate condemns in totality the killing of innocent citizens just because they are found with bags of rice without any investigation, and that we condemn it in totality. We don't believe in any way that a bag of rice on a motorcycle is enough to attract a capital punishment. And then I also want to commend my colleagues for your contributions, particularly that of the Air Vice Marshal Napoleon Bally, retired. He pointed out that it is also the nature of the arms that are being used by the customs that could result in some of these accidental discharges that led to various loss of lives.
Still from the red chambers, where President of the Senate Godswill Akpabio has assured Nigerian workers of the readiness of the government to review the salaries of its workers as a move towards cushioning the effect of the removal of fuel subsidy. The President of the Senate gave the assurance while receiving in courtesy the Governor of Ekiti State, Abiodun Oyebanji, and members of the National Assembly from the state. According to statements from his media office, Akpabio also noted that the removal of fuel subsidy by the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu-led administration was to address corruption in the petroleum sector. He said the removal of fuel subsidy was the beginning of fighting corruption in the system. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives today urged President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to consider the declaration of 35% affirmative action on women participation in governance through the ministerial nominees. The call followed the consideration of a motion titled Need to Ensure Beijing Declaration on 35% Affirmative Action on Women's Appointment into Positions, moved by Billy Osawaru. Presenting the motion, Osawaru said that Nigeria, as a member of the United Nations, signed and ratified the several applicable international instruments, agreements, and conventions without reservation, including the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action in 1995. In the meantime, the House of Representatives is set to investigate the incident of contaminated fuel observed in a MAX airplane. This followed a motion of urgent importance by Tunji Olawuyi, a member representing Ekiti, Isin, Okero, and Irepodun federal constituency. It would be recalled that the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority (NCAA) had on July 12, 2023, suspended the airline's domestic operations, citing contamination of Jet A1 fuel, amongst other reasons. The House said it is concerned about the imminent danger, considering the life and death situation involved, adding that the incident will be probed. Still from the Green Chambers, where the House of Representatives has taken a firm stance against the National Electricity Regulatory Commission (NERC) by rejecting the proposed increase in electricity tariff. This resolution was reached following a motion presented by Aliyu Madaki, who expressed strong disapproval of the price hike, especially considering the recent increase in petrol prices that has already burdened many Nigerians. Aliyu Madaki emphasized that it is inappropriate and insensitive to introduce such a significant tariff increase at a time when citizens are still grappling with the impact of the petrol price surge. In response to the motion, the House mandated its Committee on Power, once constituted, to engage in discussions with the NERC. Reports say the aim is to seek a mutual understanding and find a middle ground to address the proposed tariff hike, considering the current economic challenges faced by the populace. To the judiciary now, where the Court of Appeal today reacted to the widespread news on the purported resignation of a member of the Presidential Election Petition Court, Justice Bolokoromo Ugo. The court has refuted the news, describing it as false and misleading, while dismissing the report. The Chief Registrar of the court, Umar Bangari, appealed to the general public to ignore the news as fake. Bangari spoke to journalists via a telephone conversation in Abuja. The news of the purported resignation of Justice Ugo from the bench, citing demands to kneecap democracy, broke earlier today on the internet. The online report stated that Justice Ugo resigned from the bench, citing demands from the executive arm that he believes would destroy the country's democracy. In a statement as reported by the online platform, Justice Ugo said that siding with the government on the petitions challenging the election of Bola Ahmed Tinubu would be the death of Nigeria's democracy, and that he could not, in good conscience, remain silent. Still on judicial matters, now the Federal High Court Abuja has threatened to issue a warrant of arrest against the suspended governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Godwin Emefiele. The threat was connected to his failure to appear in court to explain the circumstances surrounding the $53 million judgment debt arising from the Paris Club refund. Recall that in October 2022, Justice Ekwo ordered the CBN governor to appear in court on January 18 over his alleged refusal to obey the order of the court for the payment of the judgment debt in favor of a legal practitioner Joe Aji San. Meanwhile, Justice Binta Nyako of the Federal High Court Abuja has ordered the Department of State Services DSS to grant the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, access to a medical doctor of his choice on grounds that he requires urgent ear surgery amidst his reported failing health. Delivering judgment, Justice Nyako also ordered the secret police to also monitor, record and seal all medical sessions administered on the IPOB leader for security purposes. The court, in its judgment, also ordered that all Kanu's medical records be made available to the IPOB leader. Kanu, who has been in the custody of the DSS since June 2021, is facing terrorism-related charges brought against him by the secret police. In a separate development, the West African Examination Council (WAEC) has appeared before the Ogun State Election Petition Tribunal. Recall that the Examination Council had been subpoenaed by the tribunal to produce a duplicate of Governor Dagbo Abiodun's WAEC certificate. An official of the examination body, Olufemi Olaleye, appeared before the tribunal sitting in Isabo, Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital. Olaleye told the tribunal he did not bring the requested certificate because the council does not keep duplicates of collected WAEC certificates. In a separate development, Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke has approved the appointment of chairman and vice chairman of non-statutory boards in the state. The appointments are coming a day after Governor Adeleke performed the swearing-in ceremony for 25 commissioners and 3 permanent secretaries. According to a statement signed by the spokesperson to the Governor Olawale Rashid today in Oshobo, the appointments take immediate effect. Back here, Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Moino has sent names of commissioners and special advisors to the Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly for screening and confirmation. They include Ukodom San, Sir Monday Uko, Idong Esere Tiabet, Dr. Nsikan Nkan, Bob MM, Captain Inyobong Ekong retired, Basi Okon, Sir Charles Udo, Oman Essen, Dr. Fyong Ofo, Camillus Umor, Uno Etim Uno, Otoekong Raphael Basi, Anefyong Kom, Professor Eno Ibanga, Frank Achibong, Professor August Umor, Dr. Ini Adiakpan, Comrade Ini Emamabong, the Dr. Imo Moffat, Eno Mbobo, Joseph J. Etim, General Uko Esian, retired. Special Advisor Amanam Nkanga. In his ruling, the Speaker of the State House of Assembly, Udemo Tong, referred the list to the House Committee on Justice, Human Rights and Public Petitions for further legislative actions. Meanwhile, a doctor of medical laboratory science in Life Links Hospital in Keruwem Etok has advised the public on some etiquettes that can control the spread of tuberculosis. Speaking with our correspondent on ways to control tuberculosis, Dr. Keruwem said people should be educated on respiratory hygiene and the importance of cough etiquette procedures, affirming that if this is done, it will control the spread of tuberculosis. A correspondent Blessing Dixon completes the story.
From the World Health Organization shows that every year around 245,000 Nigerians die from tuberculosis and about 590 new cases occur. The Institute of Human Virology in Nigeria added that TB patients infect 15 people annually and 300,000 cases are left undiagnosed nationwide every year. When people with TB cough, sneeze or spit, they propel the TB germs into the air. A person only needs to inhale a few of these germs to become infected. Tuberculosis affects the lungs, but it can also affect other parts of the body, such as the brain, the kidneys, or the spine. Dr. Nkeruem Etok takes us through how tuberculosis can be controlled, while emphasizing on cough etiquette.
Preventive measures for tuberculosis, vaccination in tuberculosis, that's good. But it has limited use. Separating the young person or elderly person from an infected person. Then you can also prevent it by reducing alcohol intake, reducing drug usage. We must try to educate the people on how to cough. Somebody is somebody is a tuberculosis patient and is still coughing without handkerchief, without covering his mouth.
A popular assassin quips, "Prevention is better than cure. Let's all take steps to prevent the spread of tuberculosis." In Uyo, Blessing Dixon, Spectrum Television News.
Still to come in the news. Wheat prices soar for third day. Let's start with this. Many thanks for staying tuned as we move on now to Africa, where Egypt's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has pardoned an unspecified number of people, including a Christian rights activist, Patrick Zaki. Reports say Zaki was sentenced on Tuesday, July 18, to 3 years in prison by the court in the Nile Delta city of Mansoura, taken into custody from the courtroom directly after the verdict. He was convicted of disseminating false news related to an article of his about alleged discrimination against the Coptic Christian minority in Egypt. Still in Africa, a yet-to-be-identified man has lost his life in an explosion that injured no fewer than 48 persons in Johannesburg, South Africa. Reports say the cause of the underground explosion that ripped open roads and damaged at least 34 vehicles was yet to be ascertained. Meanwhile, the spokesperson for Johannesburg's Emergency Management Service, Robert Malodzi, in a post on Twitter said the corpse of the deceased victim was found during the rescue operation at night time. Meanwhile, a civil defense official today said firefighters in Tunisia are battling a major blaze that has raged for 2 days in a pine forest near the border with Algeria. Regional Civil Defense Director Abdel Labidi told newsmen that around 470 hectares of forest had already burned and that firefighters and an army helicopter were still fighting the flames. He said a border crossing with Algeria had to close temporarily because of the outbreak. According to reports, around a dozen families had been evacuated from the affected area near the Mediterranean resort of Tabarka east of the frontier. Away from that, a magistrate's court in Malawi's capital, Lilongwe, has found Chinese national Liu Ke guilty of procuring children to take part in entertainment and racially exploiting them. It then said he should leave the country within 7 days and never be allowed to return. Liu Ke, also known as Susu in Malawi, was arrested in July last year after he had been exposed. The report revealed he was filming local children making personalized greeting videos, some of which included racist content. The videos could be bought for up to $70 on Chinese social media and internet platforms. Reports say when news of his offensive videos broke, Liu Ke fled to neighboring Zambia when he found out that the Malawian authorities had issued a warrant for his arrest. He was then detained in Zambia and convicted on entering the country illegally before later being extradited to Malawi. Elsewhere, the founder of Russia's private military company Wagner, Yevgeny Prigozhin, has told newsmen that his mercenaries will continue working in African countries where they are present. He added that there was no and there will be no reduction in their programs in Africa. His remarks followed rumors about the possible withdrawal of Wagner mercenaries from Mali and the Central African Republic. The rumors began circulating after Prigozhin staged a short-lived mutiny in Russia on 24th June. Meanwhile, rights groups have accused Wagner mercenaries of committing human rights abuses in Mali and CAR. Still in Africa, a bodyguard of a Congolese opposition politician who was shot dead last week in Kinshasa is being questioned by police. The former transport minister, Cherubin Okende, was found dead in his car. Attorney General Firmin Mvonde told a news conference that the fatal shot was fired from inside the vehicle and the weapon was found next to Okende. According to reports, he was a spokesman for the opposition party led by Moise Katumbi, who is due to contest the presidential election scheduled for December. Meanwhile, the NGO International Rescue Committee IRC has warned 1 million more people could be facing hunger in Burkina Faso in the next few months as the lack of security in parts of the country continues to have an impact. Currently, an estimated 2.2 million people, 1 in 10 of the population, are experiencing hunger, but the IRC says that the figure could reach 3.3 million by September. As a result of a militant Islamist insurgency, parts of the country are almost entirely cut off. Food supplies rarely get through, and health facilities are closing. Meanwhile, the IRC has highlighted the plight of people in the northern town of Djibo, which hosts more than 200,000 people forced from their homes elsewhere in the region. On the foreign scene now, House of Commons leader Penny Mordaunt told members of Parliament today that Charles III will make his first King's speech at the UK state opening of Parliament on November 7. The King, who became monarch last September, will outline Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's priorities for the year ahead, which will likely see a general election. Charles deputized for his late mother, Queen Elizabeth II, at the opening of Parliament in 2022, but it will be the first time he has delivered the set-piece speech since becoming king. Still on the foreign scene now, Iraq today warned it would sever diplomatic ties with Sweden if a Quran is burned again. The warning came after hundreds of people stormed the Swedish embassy in Baghdad and set it alight in a protest against plans for one Quran to be burned in Stockholm later. Swedish Foreign Minister Tobias Billström said embassy staff were safe, but that Iraqi authorities had failed in their responsibility to protect the embassy in accordance with the Vienna Convention. The Iraqi government strongly condemned the burning of the Swedish embassy, according to a statement from the office of Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Shah al-Sudani, which declared it a security breach and vowed to protect diplomatic missions. Meanwhile, Ukrainian Air Force says Russia has launched 38 air attacks on southern Ukraine, including nearly 24 cruise missiles and kamikaze drones combined. It said Russian forces attacked ports, piers, residential buildings, and retail chains in the southern cities of Odessa and Mykolaiv. According to the force, Ukraine's air defense destroyed 18 of the projectiles, including 13 Shahed drones, 2 sea-launched Caliber cruise missiles, and 3 Iskander-K land-based cruise missiles. The Ukrainian Air Force also added that Russia launched 19 Shahed 136-131 attack drones from Crimea and Kursk. In a related development, the United States has announced a new $1.3 billion military aid package for Ukraine featuring air defense systems, anti-tank missiles, drones, and other equipment. The package is part of U.S. efforts to meet Ukraine's pressing requirements by committing critical near-term capabilities while also building the enduring capacity of Ukraine's armed forces. The reports say the assistance will not immediately arrive on the battlefield, as it falls under the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative, under which Washington procures equipment from the defense industry or partners rather than drawing it from U.S. stocks. Elsewhere, Belarus said today that instructors from mercenary group Wagner have begun training the ex-Soviet country's special forces nearly a month after an aborted rebellion in Russia. Wagner fighters and their leader were due to move to Belarus as part of a deal to defuse their revolt, which was the most serious challenge to Russian President Vladimir Putin's power. Wagner, which played a key role in the Ukraine offensive, sought to topple Russia's military leadership during its brief rebellion last month before backing down. Belarusian strongman leader Alexander Lukashenko offered Wagner chief Yevgeny Prigozhin refuge in Belarus and said his army would benefit from the combat experience of Wagner commanders. Now, last week, Minsk said that the defense ministry and Wagner had worked out a roadmap on sharing experience and that the instructors started training territorial defense forces. Still on the foreign scene, French President Emmanuel Macron reshuffled his government today as he looks to move on from a series of crises since his re-election last year. After weeks of speculation that he might change prime minister, the 45-year-old head of state said on Monday that he was sticking with under-fire Elizabeth Borne. Since his re-election last May, Macron has faced months of fierce street protests over a deeply unpopular pensions reform and was forced into crisis management again late last month when riots erupted nationwide. Meanwhile, advisors and ministers had long argued over whether the centrists should carry out a major overhaul of the cabinet to signal a fresh start, but in the end, the changes were limited. Meanwhile, India's National Disaster Response Force have said that 16 people had been killed in Raigad district landslide. Reports say India's National Disaster Response Force has called off the rescue operations because of continuous rains and threats of further landslides. Meanwhile, the state's Deputy Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis said at least 1,000 workers were part of the rescue team and around 200 people live in the area, and that 70 had been rescued. And now it's time for the latest business and stock market stories. Here is Davina Praise Oman.
Thank you, Xavier Roberts. Good evening. It is business news. My name is Davina Praise Omang. In the news, wheat prices soar for a third day. Wheat price rose for a third straight day to a 3-week high of $7.3 per bushel today, following an 8.5% rally the day before, which was the biggest gain since 2012, as mounting geopolitical tensions threaten grain exports from Ukraine. Russia warned that any ships traveling to Ukraine's Black Sea ports will be seen as possibly carrying military cargoes. Early, Russian forces attacked critical infrastructure in the Ukrainian port of Odessa, destroying key machinery and 60,000 tons of grain. Russia ended the Black Sea grain deal that kept Ukrainian grain exports flowing safely through the corridor, marking an end to the year-long scheme that linked wheat supply from one of the world's top producers just before this year's harvest. In Nigeria, the economic crisis in Nigeria has continued to deepen with a spike in inflation as President Bola Tinubu delays the composition of the Federal Executive Council 52 days after taking office. The Fifth Amendment to the Nigerian Constitution mandates the President and governors to submit the names of their ministerial and commissioner nominees within 60 days of taking the oath of office for confirmation by the Senate or State House of Assembly. The Cabinet will give a glimpse into the President's governing style, policy direction, and the team executing the administration's agenda. Fuel price hike in Nigeria. The recent increase in the cost of premium motor spirit, commonly known as petrol, has been attributed by marketers to the devaluation of the naira and the current surge in crude oil prices. The chairman of the Major Oil Marketers Association of Nigeria, Olumide Adeosun, during a media workshop, said the international price of crude oil and the exchange rate constituted the largest components of the cost build-up for petrol, accounting for over 80%. He stated that the remaining 20% included statutory dues, distribution costs, and margins. The Nigerian Stock Market Report. Today is the last trading day of the week, and the benchmark oil share index climbed 173.49 basis points to close at 63,930.72 points, representing a one-week gain of 1.88%. A total of 1.35 billion shares in 7,179 deals, corresponding to a market value of 18.066 billion naira, were traded. The current market capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is 34.8 trillion naira. In the aggregate, 119 listed equities participated in trading, ending with 42 gainers and 21 losers. University Press led the gainers with 10% share price appreciation, closing at 2 naira 42 kobo per share. On the losing side, Courtville Business Solutions came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of 9.86% at 64 kobo per share. United Bank for Africa recorded the highest volume of 962 million traded shares. This is all on business news. Back to Xavier Roberts for the rest of the news.
Many thanks, Davina. Still to come in the news. Gold Coast ready to step in as 2026 hosts of Commonwealth Games. Do stay with us. Many thanks for staying tuned. Now in health, the Kwara State Primary Health Care Development Agency has finalized plans to commence the second round of polio vaccination from July 22 through 25. The secretary of the agency, Dr. Nusirat Elelu, made this known during her presentation at the 2023 stakeholders meeting of the State Task Force on Immunization and Primary Health Care. She said the inauguration of the second round of vaccination would take place at the Emir of Lafiaji Palace in the Edu local government area of Kwara State, noting that it is the first to take place in Kwara North. According to her, the rationale behind taking the inauguration to Kwara North is to strengthen traditional leaders' engagement on routine vaccinations for children in communities. Still in health, a consultant pediatric hematologist and oncologist at the Lagos University Teaching Hospital ED Yaraba, Professor Damison Temie, says children will not grow well and appropriately in an environment characterized by violence. Temie also said a violent environment can also increase the chances of children having a low intelligence quotient, which he said will lead to poor academic performance. The pediatrician, who disclosed this during an interview with Newsman, however, said adequate nutrition during pregnancy could positively impact on the brain and physical development of children. Let's head over now to Isaac for trending sports stories.
Well, thank you very much. In sports, from the Commonwealth Games, Gold Coast is ready to step into stage the 2026 Commonwealth Games after the state of Victoria pulled out, said Mayor Tom Tate. The coastal city, host of the 2018 Games, is in the Australian state of Queensland, which is preparing to host the 2032 Olympics in Brisbane. Tate says hosting the Commonwealth Games will help those preparations. The Commonwealth Games Federation struggled to find a host before Victoria stepped forward in April 2022. In football, the FIFA Women's World Cup started today, and co-host Australia laboured initially in the absence of injured captain Sam Kerr, but a second-half penalty from Steph Cutley got them off to a solid start at the competition with a 1-0 victory over Ireland. The news that striker Kerr had been ruled out by calf injury stunned the record crowd of 75,784 fans as it filtered into the Stadium Australia, but Cutley stepped up to take the captain's armband and scored a decisive goal in the 52nd minute. Ireland, cheered on by a noisy band of compatriots, made life difficult for the Australians with their compact defence and came close to forcing an equaliser during the period of sustained pressure in the second half. The Matildas were successful in using their pace on the flanks to get behind the Irish defence, but the massed ranks of green shirts managed to deal with the subsequent crosses into the box. We're also talking about football. Australian captain Sam Kerr has been ruled out of the first 2 games of the FIFA Women's World Cup with the calf injury sustained in training. Kerr missed the first game against Ireland today. She's 29 and she's Australia's all-time record scorer. Will also be absent against Nigeria on July 27. Kerr would now hope to be fit for the team's final match in Group B against Canada on the 31st of July. Well, Arsenal defender Steph Cutley stepped in as Australian captain to replace Kerr for the match, which was the second of the Women's World Cup today after co-host New Zealand defeated Norway by 1-0. With 63 goals in 120 games, Kerr has long been the key figure for Australia while being immensely successful at club level, winning 3 successive domestic doubles with Chelsea. But that's it on sports. My name is Isaac. Over now to Simon Oko for entertainment news.
Well, thank you, Isaac. In entertainment news, veteran Nollywood actor Jim Iyke has narrated the series of events that led to him having to sneak back into Nigeria in 2020 during the COVID-19 lockdown. He revealed how he snuck himself back into Nigeria after being stranded in Paris for 5 months. According to the actor's account, he had gone to Paris to visit his second son, who lives in the capital, when the lockdown occurred, leaving him stranded. After those 5 months, the veteran Nollywood star started to miss home and wanted to return to Nigeria, but most countries had shut down as a result of the pandemic, so he had to sneak back into the country. Away from that now, popular former child actress Regina Daniels has been appointed as the Social Secretary of the Senators' Wives Association of Nigeria. This was announced by the actress on her official Instagram page yesterday, 20th of July, after the assembly held the day before. She expressed her excitement over the role and the idea of a great Nigeria. Daniels, in her caption, disclosed that the meeting was hosted by Ekaete Akpabio, the wife of the Senate President. Going further, she detailed the purpose and goals of the association and announced her role in the forum. Moving forward, Nigerian singer Inyanya believes that most reality TV show winners don't thrive in the entertainment industry because they don't want to be famous. He is of the belief that the reality TV show winners fall off after winning the competition because they have no intentions of being famous. The way he views it, fame just happens to be a lot of reality stars who tried their luck. The songwriter also stated that those who often embrace the fame and all that comes with it are those people who needed a platform and reach. Inyanya came into the spotlight as a reality TV star himself in 2008 after winning the very first edition of Project Fame West Africa. Just as he said, he was convinced to audition for the competition by a friend because he could sing. He initially had no intentions of becoming popular, but after winning, he continued to rise in stardom. 21-year-old singer Ira Star has declared that her record label boss, Don Jazzy, is the coolest person ever. During the interview where she recounted her first time meeting him after he contacted her to sign her into the Maven's record label, she admitted that she was initially shy when she met the successful music producer, but as time went on, she realized that he was a calm and cool person. Continuing, the singer expressed gratitude to the manager, thanking him for his guidance throughout her career so far. And in music, Fast-rising street pop sensation Charlie Poppy has made his first appearance on the Billboard Afrobeat Songs chart after releasing his debut EP, Planet Pluto. In the latest issue of the Billboard Hot 100 chart week, July 22nd, Rema's Calm Down extends its record as the longest charting African song in the Hot 100 as it enters its 45th week while retaining its number 4 position. The global smash hit, which has earned an RIAA Platinum plaque, also extended its run as the highest charting Nigerian song and the second highest charting African song in the chart history. In the Billboard US Afrobeat Songs chart, Rema's Calm Down extends its record at the top 46 weeks as it continues to make the summit of the chart its permanent abode. Libyanka's People retains its number 2 spot, while Thames' Free Mind and Wizkid's Essence remix moves up 1 spot to number 3 and number 4 respectively, while Jehos, Who Told You featuring Drake drops 2 spots to number 5. At number 6 is Burna Boy's Last Last, which displays it sitting on top of the world, which drops to number 7. Ira Star's Rush drops to number 8. CK's Love Nwantinti retains number 9 spot, and Fireboy's Peru stays at number 10. For debuts this week, Charlie Poppy's Ex-Convict debuts at number 26, while King Promise's Terminator debuts at number 44. And that's it on the entertainment news. My name is Simon Oko. Back to the news.
That's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You've been watching Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert. Wishing you a terrific night rest. Bye-bye.